The air was heavy with silence at Arlington National Cemetery, broken only by the faint rustle of trees in the late afternoon breeze. Families, veterans, tourists, and children lined the marble courtyard, their conversations tapering off as they noticed movement from the shaded colonnade. From the shadows stepped a figure, a female tomb guard, striking in presence. She appeared in her late 20s, tall, broad-shouldered, her chest rising and falling with the steadiness of ritual. Her uniform gleamed in perfect alignment, jacket pressed with surgical precision, golden braids glinting, trousers razor-sharp, white gloves glowing in the sun. Her rifle, polished to a mirror finish, rested firmly against her shoulder, reflecting slivers of light. The most noticeable detail was the American flag patch on her arm, catching the golden sunlight like fire. It reminded the crowd that she wasn't just a guard. She was a living embodiment of duty. She began her measured march, 21 steps across the granite. Every footfall echoed like a drumbeat of history. The crowd held its breath. Even children who moments earlier had fidgeted in boredom now stared wide-eyed, transfixed. Gasps rippled as whispers passed between the visitors. "She's the guard? I didn't know women could serve here." They don't, unless they're the best of the best. A small boy clutched his father's sleeve. "Daddy, is she guarding superheroes?" The father swallowed hard before answering, his voice low, reverent. "Something even greater, son." Every eye followed her. With each turn and salute, she wasn't just performing ceremony. She was embodying sacrifice.
"What do you think you're doing, lady? This is a disgrace!"
Crowd murmuring.
The courtyard was still. Each pivot of the guard's boots against the granite rang louder than any voice could. But then it came, a voice cutting through the reverence like a blade. "What's the point?" a man scoffed, his words sharp with cynicism. "It's just a box. Nobody even knows who's in it." Gasps erupted, heads turned sharply. A veteran in the crowd clenched his cane tighter. Mothers pulled children closer. Some glared at the man in disbelief. Others simply looked down in shame. The guard did not flinch. Her grip tightened on her rifle. Her chest expanded slowly with controlled breath. The American flag patch on her arm seemed to glow brighter in the golden light, as though it itself was answering the insult. She continued her ritual with flawless precision. Pivot, pause, 21 seconds. But when she reached her post before the tomb, she broke her rhythm. She stopped. With deliberate calm, she raised her rifle and delivered a salute that cracked through the courtyard like thunder. The sound of her glove brushing against steel echoed, a sharp reminder that this tomb was not just a box. It was a sacred trust, guarding the memory of every soldier who never came home. The man's face paled. His arrogance faltered under the weight of her silence. He shifted, uncomfortably, crossing his arms, his bravado collapsing as the atmosphere pressed down on him. He tried to look away, but the stillness of the crowd, the reverence of the moment, forced him to confront his words. No one needed to shout. No one needed to argue. The guard's calm defiance said everything. The silence stretched. For a moment, it seemed the world itself held its breath. Then, from the front row, movement broke the stillness. An elderly veteran in a wheelchair lifted a trembling hand. Slowly, painfully, he raised it into a salute, his knuckles white with effort, his eyes glistening with tears. His thin voice cracked as he whispered, "Present arms." And then, something extraordinary happened. One by one, the crowd followed. A mother pressed her daughter's small hand against her chest,
A father bowed his head. Teenagers who moments earlier had been scrolling their phones now stood frozen, their faces transformed with awe. Within seconds, the entire courtyard became a sea of reverence, salutes, hands over hearts, bowed heads. Even the man who had mocked the tomb lowered his gaze, shame flooding his face. His lips moved soundlessly as tears welled in his eyes. "Forgive me," he whispered. The guard did not smile. She did not gloat. She stood immovable, her posture rigid, her breathing steady. Then, with flawless precision, she resumed her march, turning sharply on her heel, boots clicking against the stone, each stride carrying the weight of history. She disappeared back into the shadows of the colonnade, swallowed by the marble arches as though she had returned to eternity itself. But the people did not move. They remained standing, caught in the echo of her silent lesson. Some wept openly. Some whispered prayers. And some simply stood in awe, realizing that this tomb may hold an unknown soldier, but it represented every soldier, every sacrifice, every life given for freedom. That day, they left with something more than photographs. They left with reverence, and they carried it home like a quiet flame, knowing they had witnessed something sacred. The unknown soldier may not have a name, but he and every soldier like him would never be forgotten.